Hello friends, today we will talk about Antahkarana, a famous term, Antahkarana in Sanskrit, which means the inner working organs. But before we go into Antahkarana, we need to understand some principles, how it is related to consciousness. So what is consciousness? When I say consciousness, take it in the simplest method. I am conscious. I am currently conscious. You are conscious. Conscious of what? Of the external world. I am conscious. I am interacting with the external world. And thus I can say that I am conscious. So this is like, I'm not going into the word consciousness, but it is a way of explaining. For example, if you look at the sun, no one has gone into the sun, but we all have a term, or we give some attributes, or we talk about some attributes of the sun. The sun is hot, the sun is bright, the sun shines. So these are all the attributes of the sun. Likewise, when I say I'm conscious, what do I refer to? So consciousness, if you look in Wikipedia, for example, there is a full page, a big page explaining what consciousness is and so on, so on. Starting from the 1800s, research, people have looked into consciousness and so on, so on. But in the very beginning, or let's say in the very end, you will know that there is no clear definition of consciousness at all, until now, even today. So consciousness has not been defined yet. So why am I saying that? Because consciousness has been the core of Hindu philosophy, and if you look into the modern consciousness definition, let's say in Wikipedia, for example, not even a single reference has been made to consciousness research which was done in India. I'm not saying that, okay, since I'm an Indian, I'm referring to India. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is a huge bunch of research has been made about consciousness, and that is the chief philosophy of Hinduism, explained very much in detail in the Upanishads. But the scientific view of consciousness is still trying to get more details, or trying to analyze consciousness without taking the Hindu philosophy into account. Okay, we will see how it goes. So anyway, what is consciousness? Consciousness can be said to contain 5 parts. Again, this is my interpretation, my way of telling the subject, I think, in a simplest form. I'm not telling this on my own. I'm just referring to the Upanishads and the Hindu scriptures. I rely on that, but I'm trying to put this in a simplest form. Consciousness can be broken down into 5 different parts. So when I say I am conscious, let's try to look what are the 5 different parts which makes me conscious. Logical, okay. If you start from the inner core, I am seeing, let's say I am seeing this camera. What are the elements or objects or inner organs involved in this process. This is the first thing. So if you want to start, I can say the seer, the one who is seeing. It is not my eyes. Behind my eyes, there is someone who is seeing. Yeah? So the person who is seeing is the first thing. And then there is an identity of myself. In the sense, I am seeing. Yeah? So there is an I consciousness which is called as ego. Yeah? What else is involved? A reasoning. Because when I look at this camera, and if I do not know what this camera is, then my mind goes bananas. So there is a reasoning which is involved, which gathers the inputs from my mind. So mind is involved, reasoning is involved. The mind gets the inputs through my senses, my eyes. So if I have to start from the camera, I see the camera through my eye, senses. Yeah? The senses send the inputs to my mind. So mind, the mind is giving this information to my intelligence, intellect. This intellect is passed on to myself, which is my ego, me, yeah? Ego. And this is what the person who is seeing is observing through. I think it is clear. Yeah? So there is a person who is seeing. The first one element is ego. Reasoning, intelligence or reasoning. My mind and the senses. Yeah? So there are 4 topics. Out of this 4, the senses get the inputs. So senses are the tools with which we communicate with the world. Let's start from the senses now, backwards. During the waking state, so in my current state, I am not sleeping. This is what I call as waking state. In this state, my senses interact with the world, and due to this interaction, I get a sense of feeling. So this is the first Antahkarana, external Antahkarana, external or exterior most Antahkarana, feelings or emotions, otherwise called as chitta. So if I just close all my sense organs, I won't have any feeling or emotions completely. For example, when I am sleeping very well, very deep, during deep sleep, my sense organs don't function. So where do I get the emotions from? Nowhere. So emotions, do they exist when I am sleeping very well? No. So during the waking state, I get the feelings through my senses. So feelings, or otherwise called as chitta, is the first exterior-most Antahkarana. These feelings are passed on to my mind. Mind or manas is the second Antahkarana. So when I say manas, what do I mean mind? What do I mean by mind? Let's imagine that you are working on a computer. You are trying to type a letter using Microsoft Word, for example. You write the letter in Microsoft Word. When you save it in the computer, the Microsoft Word letter is stored as zeros and ones, and that is called as data. This is normal PC. This is how a normal computer works. Whenever you need it, you retrieve these zeros and ones, otherwise called as data, and convert that to the letter which you wrote. Likewise, the mind consists of thoughts. Yeah? The sense organs gives input to the mind, and in the mind thoughts arise, and these thoughts are stored as data in the mind, and we refer to these data and use them every day. Same logic. So for example, my son's name is Ajit. Yeah? So the concept, my son Ajit, is a thought in my mind. He exists physically, but from my perspective, my son Ajit exists within me as a thought. Likewise, there must be millions of thoughts. Yeah? So my mind is a hard drive which contains quite a lot of data or thoughts. That is what is referred to as manas. So again, when we say mind, you'll have to also, let's say, refer this to the dreaming state. In the waking state, the mind is perfectly alert. The senses are alert. But in the dreaming state, when we go to bed and when we start to dream, for example, the senses are not active, but the mind is active. The mind picks up some thoughts, which could be good or bad, and then it tries to make some pictures out of it, which we call as dreams. There is a great research going on about dreams nowadays, and I recently attended a short session, and people said, yeah, dreams could be because of that, it could be because of that, but it appeared to me that these information are collected based on statistics. So I raised a question: what does a blind person see in his dream? A blind person who is blind from birth, who has not seen anything in this world, amazingly does not see any vision like how we see in his dream. So that means it is simple to, let's say, conclude on this: the data which are collected through the sense objects which we have seen are stored as thoughts. These thoughts are projected during our dream state as dreams. That is the reason why a blind person who has never seen a tree or sun will not dream about a sun or a tree. It's logical, it's simple. I'm not saying this again. This is all in the Upanishads. It's clear. Upanishads or Puranas you read. It says, during the dream state, the mind takes some data from the mind and it projects. So this is about the second exterior most Antahkarana, manas. The first outermost was chitta, feelings or emotions. Second one is manas. The third one is intelligence. When we see a snake in front of me, or when I see a snake in front of me, the mind does not know what to do next. When I see that, suddenly it just pushes that question to my intellect, buddhi. And this intellect gives the direction what to do next. Stay or run, for example. Yeah? So this is the third organ, buddhi. Fourth one is ego. Ego is the sense of individuality. So for example, when I say I am Ramesh, that is me. I'm not you. I'm different from you. Yeah? The sense of individuality is called ego. So these are the four organs. Now, what to do with this? What is the reason? I mean, we are not talking just for philosophical reasons. Yeah, this is good. I mean, okay, these are four Antahkaranas. Okay, what to do with that? There is a great science behind this concept, because these four things, chitta, manas, buddhi, ahamkara, these four elements together with awareness constitutes human consciousness. Am I clear? So, me, I'm seeing you. Yeah, the person who is seeing is using these four elements to have a normal human consciousness. It is sequential. The person who is seeing is having this ego which close to him. Then comes the buddhi, then comes the mind, then comes the feeling. What does that mean? People who come out of coma or pure vegetative state, sometimes, let's say, they cry or they laugh, for example. Emotions. This one is affected. That means their level of incompetence is minimal, because we are talking about the last one, outer core, which is being affected, which means the emotions, only the emotions are affected. So the last one, the emotions are affected. Yeah. If the emotions are affected, there is a very high probability that the mind, which is the next higher level, is also affected. And what is the mind constitutes of? Memories, which is data. It could be that people have forgotten who their father is, who their mother is, who their kids are. So this, how do you say, the memories, the data which are stored in their mind can also be affected. The next level is intelligence. Intelligence can also be affected. Above all is the egoity. If that is affected, there is no point in having all the rest. He cannot work in this world. So, in the modern medical science, people are still trying to, let's say, understand how the concept of consciousness is working when someone is affected. They wonder, but he's having some memory, but he's not having the sense of fear, or for example, or he's lacking the sense of pleasure or having pain, or there is a whole bunch of science to be done. But it is important to keep this sequence in order. The person who is seeing is on the top. Then comes the ego, the self, the feeling of me, that is ego, intelligence, mind, and then feelings. So the impact of someone coming out of coma or vegetative state of existence will definitely be affected in this path. Anyway, so what is the importance of this? Why do we talk about this? This is because these four Antakaranas, together with the awareness, now I'm using a new term called awareness, the person who is seeing, yeah? Instead of using the term a person who is seeing, I'm using the term awareness. So these four Antakaranas together with awareness constitutes the human consciousness. Now, the Upanishads talk about consciousness. Are these the same? No. The Upanishads talk about consciousness, but the modern world has selected consciousness for the normal human consciousness. So, either we say that Upanishads are talking about God consciousness and we have human consciousness. This is one way, perfectly all right. Or the Upanishads are talking about consciousness, and in our subject, I would equate this pure awareness to be in the same level as the consciousness mentioned in the Upanishads. Am I making sense? So I'll try to explain. So the consciousness mentioned in the Upanishads is exactly the same as awareness plus the four Antakaranas. So if I remove the four Antakaranas, then I end up with awareness, which is the same awareness mentioned in the Upanishads. So, what does that mean? When I look, there is a pure awareness plus the four Antakaranas. All I have to do is, to achieve the pure awareness, all I have to do is remove the four Antakaranas. That's all. In other words, to attain God consciousness, all you have to do is remove things from your consciousness. This is the whole subject. What do you have to remove? Emotions. Emotions, chitta, or feelings, they are caused by attachments. This is why Jesus said, those who do not hate your mother or father or whatever cannot be my disciple. So attachments cause emotions. Yeah? If there is no attachment, okay, I remain steady. Yeah? Regardless of what happens to you, I remain steady. So this is one way. And then mind. The mind always thinks about the past and the future. It never thinks about the present. Thoughts, if you think of this, a thought always refers to a past or future. There is no thought in the world which deals about the present situation. Again, Jesus said, don't worry about what you will have for tomorrow. It's the same thing. I mean, people are interpreting this and, let's say, explaining this in a different way, but the core teaching is the same. And then what comes? Intelligence. Can you remove intelligence? What is intelligence? Earning a doctorate in theology or in Vedantic studies means nothing. Literally nothing. Why? To attain this pure consciousness or pure awareness, you have to throw your intelligence away. There is no need. In fact, this buddhi or intelligence, the knowledge which we have stored, acts as a hindrance to attain the pure awareness. So, this intelligence is not required. The biggest enemy is ego, the self. That is the biggest thing. For example, if someone sits in, according to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, it talks about, let's say, at least 2 different samadhis. If someone can stop all the emotions, the thought process, forget about the intelligence, and then if he sits steady with the thought of himself only, that is called Savikalpa Samadhi. Just himself, nothing else. The next further stage is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi means he does not exist. Even himself, the concept of him existing does not exist. What is the equivalent? A deep sleep. The normal deep sleep you and me undergo every day and night. Do we know that we exist? No. We do not know. We just sleep. Yeah? It is a form of samadhi. Not highly powerful as Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but in many other ways. But it is a form of samadhi given as a gift from God to us, to each and every one. You will know the importance of a good sleep only if you have not slept for some days. Then you feel the energy after having a very good sleep. It is a sort of samadhi. Now, we have not addressed pure awareness until now. What is pure awareness? Pure awareness does not sleep even when we are asleep in deep sleep. Strange concept. This is the fact. The same awareness which I have, the person who is seeing, which I call as pure awareness, does not sleep even when I am deeply asleep. This is pure awareness. In Bhagavad Gita, I think it is chapter 269, verse 69. There is a beautiful word said by Lord Krishna. It's when it is the night time, the self-controlled yogi, for the self-controlled yogi, it is a daytime. And when it is daytime for everybody else, which is all the living creatures, it is nighttime for the yogi. Simple words. If you read the interpretations, how people have made, it is a theoretical knowledge. No, it does not help. It is completely wrong interpretation. What I am reading. Maybe I am reading from the wrong source, but the way how people have interpreted these great verses are completely wrong. So what does that mean? The self, the pure awareness, when it is night time for all the living creatures, which is, in other words, for a yogi, someone who is advanced in meditation practices and so on, for example, or highly evolved soul, someone. When he is in deep sleep, this awareness is still awake. In the morning, when everyone wakes up, this awareness disappears in the sense it becomes one with the normal routine activities during the daytime. It is the same awareness, it is not different. Do I make sense? So the awareness which I am using now to see you, the person who is seeing, the pure awareness, when I sleep, during deep sleep, is still awake. It just watches. How does it look like? For example, if I am sleeping, I'll try to give some scenarios. If I am sleeping perfectly, deep sleep, suddenly you can imagine me thinking I'm awake. I'm sleeping. I have a feeling that I'm awake. When I look at my body, not using my eyes, but using the eye of my mind, if I look, the body is sleeping. It is breathing heavily. It is sleeping. When you start to analyze, oh, what is this? You wake up. One example of how this self, or let's say pure awareness, reacts. this state of the self being awake is called Turiya, or the fourth state of consciousness. There are three states normally: Jagrat, waking state; dreaming, Swapna; Sushupti, deep sleep. The fourth one is called Turiya, or just the fourth state. In Tamil, it is not called the fourth state, but they call it as Tungamal Tungi Suham Kanbadu. Tungamal Tungi Suham Kanbadu. That means you are sleeping, deep sleep, but you are aware of your deep sleep. You are aware of your deep sleep, but you still see things. When I just say aware, you see things, but you won't see it for a long time. Why? Because, for example, in that state, if I see my wife, face of my wife, I say, okay, known face, fine, you can take it easily. But in this Turiya, for someone who is new to this whole game, it will be frightening. Because, for example, just imagine, in that state, when you're deep asleep, just imagine that you are aware that you are awake. Suddenly you see a big planet in front of you, Saturn or Mars or whatever, just in front of you. The first thing what you do is, at that state, in this Turiya, you don't have your mind, you don't have emotions, you don't have yourself, you, the person, you as such, do not exist. That is, ego does not exist there. Yeah? As soon as you see something, you start to analyze. What is this? Is it really true? Boom. That's it. Gone. What happens is, you get back through the same set of Antakaranas mentioned earlier, which is, first thing to come back into practice is I. Using that I, you start to raise questions. Is it really true? Is this happening? And then you start to assess from your mind, and then you get a sense of fear. So, from Turiya, this is the way down. To go to Turiya, what should you do? Nothing. When I say nothing, it is not a journey which you go. It is not a journey at all, because you do not exist there. I do not know if I'm clear here, but I'll try to explain. When I say I, the sense of I do not exist. It is like sitting in meditative state. After a certain level, you completely are not aware of yourself at all. In the meditative state, you get a sense of complete nothingness. I mean, as if you are in deep sleep. That's it. And then comes this awareness. In this awareness, the sense of you do not exist. Suddenly you are confronted with something. You get a glimpse of something, come back. So you are not voluntarily, let's say, wishing to see, okay, this one or that one. I don't think so. But as soon as you see, you get a glimpse and come down. Is there a possibility to sustain in that level without being frightened? Or not necessarily frightened, or with not necessarily frightened, but is there a way to stay there in the pure awareness state? If you stay there permanently, you could. I mean, one day, if you, let's say, progress to an extent where this pure awareness becomes permanent, then you'll be called as Jivan Mukta. It is the pure state of the spirit. Yeah, in that pure awareness, you realize if you turn towards who is this who is watching, then you will realize that you are a spirit, you are not the body, you understand a lot of things. That is called self-realization. So it is a long journey. Anyway, in simple terms, what we are trying to say is to achieve this God consciousness, all you have to do is remove things. In one sense, we have got things more than God. God does not have ego. God does not have a mind. That's why if you look at the pictures of Shiva, he's just sitting in a meditative state with closed eyes. That is the concept of real consciousness. It's like dormant, not interested in the worldly activities. Yeah? And this is the core concept of Shiva principle. And we use that as a god and so on, so on, so on. So, again, pure consciousness, or let's say pure awareness, is within you. This is what Jesus said. The kingdom of God is within you. That's it. I mean, how can you explain this more? Jesus was talking or preaching only about one thing in his life within his 3 years, kingdom of God. He explained that in various parables. At the end, the kingdom of God is within you. There is a whole world within you. You don't have to journey. You don't have to make any journeys to reach there. Just have a pure mind. You will reach there. May God bless you all. Thank you.